When we consider academic anxiety, economic problems, health problems, and many factors such as these, human life becomes quite complicated and difficult to live. So, how should a life be lived? What kind of attitude should be displayed in the face of difficulties that life brings? I'm Sweda, and I'm gonna take you back 2300 years to ancient Greece to find an answer to these questions. In the 3rd century BC, a rich merchant named Zeno is traveling with all his assets that is loaded on his ship. But because of a storm, all of Zeno's wealth is buried deep in the sea. Having barely saved himself from this disaster, Zeno returns to Athens desperate and penniless. This unlucky event pushes Zeno to think about life. He meets philosophy in Athens. He is influenced by Kinesim, Socrates, and Plato. Zeno's acquaintance with philosophy eventually makes him forget about his suffering, and he develops his own philosophical teaching. So he reveals the philosophy of Stoicism. This philosophy affects not only ancient Greece, but also ancient Rome, and is of interest to all kinds of people. Stoicism is basically a philosophical current which offers thoughts about how people should behave in the face of the difficulties that life brings. According to Stoic thoughts, the main source of happiness is not wealth, fame, etc. It is a person's inner peace and virtue. It focuses on 3 main things: ethics, logic, and natural sciences. Ethics is the main subject, and it is based on scientific foundations by using logic and natural sciences. If you were to ask me what is the most important and the most obvious characteristic of a Stoic, with no doubt, I'd say being able to distinguish between things that he or she can and cannot control. According to Stoicism, we can't always have control over the things going around us, but it is in our hands to control our emotions, thoughts, and behaviors. With this logic, we can meet the challenges of life more strongly by recognizing our sphere of control, thereby calm our soul and get rid of our anxieties. In our daily experiences, we should ask ourselves this question: do I have control over this situation? If the answer is no, then we don't have to worry because we already cannot control and worrying isn't going to change anything. If the answer is yes, we still don't have to worry because we can control, so instead of worrying, controlling is a much more logical choice. The most important thing that Stoicism wants us to control is our emotions, because excessive feeling of all negative or positive emotions overshadows the mind. However, controlling our emotions and feeling them as much as necessary allows our mind to be much more open. This way, we can make much more logical decisions, get closer to a better life, and becoming a stronger person. 3 famous names that come to mind when Stoicism is mentioned: Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius. These philosophers have reflected their behavior against all kinds of difficulties in their lives to their work. For example, Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor. His life was spent with dilemmas and battles. But despite this, he never gave up virtue, which was his cause, and contributed to the development of Stoicism. The book Notes to My Own Self is a sincere record of this. Seneca was a statesman and a playwright. Seneca, whose life was filled with betrayal and dilemmas, said that true happiness comes from living a virtuous life. Epictetus was born as a slave and was freed at a young age. He has also dealt with health problems throughout his life. According to Epictetus, the way to achieve inner peace is staying calm in the face of the difficulties of the outside world. Although he didn't put his thoughts into writing, they were collected by his students. The book Enchiridion is an example. Stoicism, that answers questions such as how is a life best lived or how to cope with the difficulties that life presents to us, is quite successful about staying not only in theory but being able to be transferred in practice. If so, we can approach a more peaceful life by using the principles we've learned today in our lives. This is Maarif Radio. Thank you for listening to me.